Welcome in, everybody, to the Casual Sports Podcast. 2 minutes late, but we're all good on this end. Thanks for tuning in. It's Thursday, so we got a big show. We start our look ahead to the next weekend here. We have looking behind a few more NFL games because we couldn't get the Monday show, but we got a lot to go into today, so let's get off immediately here. Question of the day from yesterday. The Army versus Navy. Who holds the all-time series lead? Navy does. They have 61 wins, 53 losses, and 7 ties after this past season. And question of the day for today. Who won the 1994 Heisman Trophy? Kajana Carter, Napoleon Kaufman, Steve McNair, Rashawn Salam, or Zach Weigert? Leave your comments somewhere. Come back tomorrow, see if you can get that one right. I'm Alec Caberna. That's Mike Wolfgang. That's Matt Morrison. Boys, let's get into some NFL talks here. We're going to wrap up this show as well tonight with some Mlb Playoff discussion. So make sure to stay tuned. And our college football predictions up next here. So Chicago Bears picked up second win over the Detroit Lions. Lions now 0-4 with Jared Goff as their starting quarterback. So still a lot of problems to go there. DeAndre Swift isn't getting the ball much. A lot of problems there. Wide receiver corps pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But on the other side, the Bears, they're looking good. Justin Fields now named the starter. What are your guys' thoughts on this game?
I wanted to ask you about Justin Fields because you're an Ohio State guy. How do you feel about them promoting him?
Yeah.
Well,
because I know you were kind of against it to start the season.
I was against it to start the season, but what did I say when they started it? He was going to be the starter no later than week 6, right? So now here we are, week 5, he's the starter. I'm like, okay, he's officially named the starter. Andy Dalton's back and competing against him, and they liked what they've seen out of Fields, and they're going to keep him in that position. And I think where they sit right now at 2-2, and 1 win from him, 1 win from Dalton. You like what you saw at Dalton at the beginning of the season, so I think if Fields struggles, I think they have the confidence to take out him and just be like, all right, let's just calm it down for a few weeks, sit back, relax, find that rhythm again, put Dalton back as the starter. And I think Justin Fields is on a good run here. Obviously, the 11-17, 209 yards. You like that. You want some touchdowns thrown by him. You want to see consistency. But he's a rookie who's going up against a really bad team, and he's got a bad team of his own on offensively. So it's not like he's working with superstars. But he still needs to be better. I mean, 11 out of 17, he threw an interception in that game. The yardage is great, but you need a touchdown if you want to be a quarterback in this league.
I mean, we talk about the Browns game. I mean, that game plan going in was so bad compared to Justin Fields.
Terrible.
So
they set him up to be slaughtered.
I mean, at least this game was something positive with him because I think Matt Nagy knows he was wrong in terms of that game plan. Like, you can't keep doing that if you want to have a young quarterback like this and ruin his mindset. So it's his stat line here, like you said, he has to get a touchdown, at least one. But, the yardage was fine. I'm fine with that. But they at least show that they can at least change some things.
Yeah, I mean, they found David Montgomery on the ground, and I think the 23 carries for him really shows that this Chicago's team is willing to work with a rookie quarterback. And that's something that we haven't seen from them because they haven't had to. I mean, they had Trubisky for a long time, and, he was okay. I mean, he put up numbers.
Inconsistent.
But he was very inconsistent, right? He couldn't score the football.
No.
And now you're seeing them willing to change the offense, to work with a young quarterback, change some things up, do something new. And that's something we haven't seen in Chicago is something new.
I think this is the same. This is like the same situation with Pittsburgh. They don't have a good offensive line, so it's good that they put Fields in because he can move out of the area and they can just feed it off to the running backs. I mean, Montgomery after that horrible injury coming back and showing his toughness, and I like the addition of Damian Williams too. The guy was pretty good in Kansas City, and I like that he, the great transition over here.
They're gonna have to get, like you said, production from somebody. We've been talking about this with the Bears team because, you said, they don't have any standout guys on offense.
No,
you could probably maybe say Allen Robinson, but that's probably it.
Darnell Mooney had one heck of a day, 125 yards for him, but still, I mean, a lot of inconsistencies in the offense, and that's something you need in the NFL is that consistent go-to guy. I mean, it's hard to find him, and you see teams struggle week to week, and then you see a team like the Cardinals who has 4 of them, that they can throw to on any given play. But it's so hard to find that guy that can be consistent because one week you got a guy go off for 200 yards and think, oh, there's our guy. Then the next week he drops everything thrown his way. He can't get open. There's nothing available because teams make the adjustments on the other end. So you wait to see what is the Chicago Bears adjustment to be able to get a guy like Robinson open, keep a guy like Mooney open. I think David Montgomery on the ground is the key to that. But now they have to also make sure they can keep that line open and keep that line healthy and give Montgomery the chance to run for 2 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
And they went up against a poor defense. So this was a game they were supposed to win. They won it by double digits like they were supposed to.
And they're not going to have too many of those games. Though they have one of the toughest schedules as well in the NFL.
But like you said, Alec, in terms of, like when you predicted Justin Fields would be starting, this is a good game for him to start because after he had to start against the Browns because I mean he was their backup at the time. So that ruined his confidence a little bit because the game plan was so poor. This is a good game for him to come back, and he did play good against the Lions. So that's something good for his confidence as he now is the starters. He has something.
Basically, third week he's now seeing live action reps in the NFL, and first 2 weeks he saw Bengals and Browns in back-to-back, two strong defenses that we've seen, and I think you can say that's prepared him for the schedule coming ahead. And I think it's going to be a rough road for Bears fans, but I don't think they should give up early in the season. This is going to be a season you're just going to have to roll with the punches, right? Yeah. This is going to be a rough year. You're not going to have a winning record. Don't expect playoffs. Don't expect this and that and all these, big hoo-ha and that, Rookie of the Year, Justin Fields, Super Bowls. Give this a few years to develop. We got a young quarterback in a bad offense trying to find themselves, trying to find that identity and trying to find their go-to guys.
This season's going to build a lot of character in this team right now.
We're going to see what Justin Fields is made of a quarterback and the rest of the team.
If he can make it through the schedule, if they finish at least 500, you can say that's success.
Or just right under.
Right under.
If this is a team that finishes, right now they're 2-2, so they're at 500, you want this team to finish 6 wins, right? Get 4 more wins on the season, because they got a rough road ahead. Raiders, Packers, Buccaneers, Niners, Steelers, Ravens before they go back to the Lions. Then after that, Cardinals, Packers, the Vikings who are
Seahawks,
out there sometimes. Seahawks, Giants, Vikings. You're looking at a rough road ahead. And there's winnable games, but there's a lot of losable games in that schedule as well. So it's a long road ahead. Bears fans just don't give up hope yet. It's going to be a rough ride. And
here's my thing with the Bears.
Go ahead.
Like I said, don't give up hope yet because we need to see how Justin Fields develops.
Oh yeah, totally. At the end of the day, he's still a Buckeye quarterback, and they haven't produced in the NFL. So now you're waiting to see, can Justin Fields be that guy that turns that table around? Everyone I think thought it was going to be Troy Smith in 2007. He was there, all the hype, the Heisman Trophy winner, first time Ohio State had one in decades, and comes out with all this hoo-ha into the NFL, and it really never turned into much.
But the thing is if he can develop at least to what they expect, or at least to somewhat what they expected, like we talked about before with the Bears team, they were a playoff team last year, so they can at least get there. They need to make improvements on offense, and we need to see how Justin develops, but they're not. Like, this is a year to figure things out, you're saying, with Justin Fields. So
because they have the pieces, at least defensively.
To get there, at least.
Now you have Justin Fields in the position, you can see what he needs through the rest of this year, and then offseason comes, you can go load up with whatever that kid needs on offense, and then come out next season and start rolling right along.
Like last year, they had Nick Foles and Trubisky. Justin Fields is an athlete that can do things that they couldn't do.
Exactly. So he's so much more mobile, able to get out from that offensive line. And that's something that you've seen with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's dealt with the bad offensive line, especially this season. He has to get out of the pocket. You look at Lamar Jackson, he has to get out. Even Kyler Murray with that good offensive line with Arizona, he's had to get out of the pocket. It's becoming a point of the modern NFL that you have to get out of the pocket because we have some of the most explosive and dangerous and quick defensive linemen we've ever had coming at you. Some of the most unique defensive schemes that we've ever seen in football.
And that's why I think when the pocket passer is dying because of this.
Well, you're also seeing it now. The defenses are getting better, right? Yeah. And faster and smarter. You're getting these different schemes, changing things at the line of scrimmage immediately, and they're not coming out in all these big huddles. It's a 30-second long process to get everybody set out there. It's 15 seconds and go. That quarterback, if they make the wrong read, they need to be able to get out and keep the play alive, right? So if you have a middle linebacker coming right at you, if you're Big Ben or Tom Brady, you're taking the hit and you're going down, that's a sack. Now we're seeing Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Murray, potentially Fields. You can take that, now spin out of it, go cut left, go cut right, and your wide receivers are now in a position that they've changed up offenses, right? Yeah. So now it's no longer you're running this route, don't change it no matter what. If you look back and your quarterback's not in the pocket, you find him, you find a hole, and you start waving your damn arms.
Yeah.
It's get open, save your quarterback the hit time. It's a completely different NFL than we saw 20 years ago.
Even 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah. You kind of saw it start to change a little bit with Michael Vick, and I think that was the start of everyone being like, you can win like this.
Well, you can even go with Steve McNair.
Of course, you're going to say that.
I love Steve McNair. Leave me alone. But yeah, I mean, he broke out of the pocket and then he could run people down as well. And then you go to Michael Vick.
I think Michael Vick was the start of this, really. I mean, McNair, I don't think anyone adopted that after him. It didn't come until Vick in the 2000s went, this is flashy, this is fun. And even then, it still took another decade to really get that into the NFL. Yeah. Speaking of a quarterback that can move, not Davis Mills, how about, on the other side of it, Josh Allen, 20 of 30 in this blowout of the Texans, 248 yards with 2 touchdowns. On the ground, he also put up 41 yards, so he's another version of that mobile quarterback who also mixes with the pocket style.
Yes, and that's very dangerous, especially for him. I mean, when you get a guy who can work in the pocket and outside of the pocket, that's the best type of quarterback you can have right there.
I mean, and on the other side, poor Davis Mills, a third-round pick, and it's a team that's struggling without their leaders. I mean, there's all the drama with Deshaun Watson, Tyrod Taylor obviously getting injured. And you were kind of hoping Davis Mills was going to get the Herbert treatment, right? Or the Baker Mayfield job where he just comes right in. Or even with Josh Allen, who took over from Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo after a playoff season. But no, Davis Mills, 87 yards, 4 interceptions in that game. And in college football, we've been talking about Georgia's defense, right? Here in the NFL, we're talking Bills' defense. This is a dominant force right now. And through the 3 games on the season, they've allowed just 21 points. Or in the last 3 games, they've allowed just 21 points. And that all came from Washington. 2 shutouts on the season already through the first 4.
And they've scored.
It's unbelievable. They scored.
I think I saw a stat earlier.
Their offense is
120-something or 30-something to like 21 in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. On a roll.
Their offense is explosive.
And can you imagine if they had this offense when they played the Steelers? Because I think they've kicked it into another gear in these last 3 games. After that Steelers loss, when you saw them not really able to move the football, they weren't productive. They were going up against a strong defense in Pittsburgh. But that's a game they should have won.
Oh, yeah.
Steelers defense just clapped down in the end, and special teams helped them out a lot with that blocked kick. And, Steelers pulled that game out. That's the only game the Steelers have won. So I think you look at it and it goes, okay, well, we thought at first that was a good game. That was a close game. At the moment, it kind of looks like a fluke game for both sides.
It is.
I mean, it is a home opener for the Bills. I mean, they came out flat in that game. Both teams really did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Steelers haven't even bounced back from it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let you talk a little bit about your Bills, Matt. They're on a roll.
Yeah, I mean, they got a big game this Sunday night. We'll
preview that on tomorrow's show, so we won't get too far ahead on this. But
they're looking pretty good.
Gotta let the way
pretty good.
Singletary on the ground with Zach Moss. I like the 1-2 duo that they've got going on. I mean, it's not the big names, but Singletary, I've always liked him as a running back in Buffalo.
Me too.
We've talked about him all season long, all off season, even like last year. Everyone was talking about the Bills needed a running back. I have stayed strong on Singletary, and he averaged 5.6 yards per carry. Zach Moss right behind him at 4.4 yards per carry. You will take that, especially when Josh Allen's giving you 6.8 as well. Yep. Even Trubisky being brought in to run some offense in this game.
Mitchell Trubisky, I like him in this backup role, especially with Buffalo. But if you look at him, he'll be a free agent next year too. So
I mean, yeah, it's probably why he signed him.
Pittsburgh. It wouldn't be the worst move.
It wouldn't.
Terrible. I mean, it's better options than what they have now.
Of Pittsburgh quarterbacks, rumors brewing right now in the NFL that fantastic quarterback wants to come down and join Mike Tomlin. Bit of an old one though. Aaron Rodgers wants to move from Green Bay in this offseason and come down and join Mike Tomlin. He said publicly that Mike Tomlin is his favorite head coach in the NFL and a guy he would love to work with. So the rumors have been brewing earlier today and even throughout this season that he wants to come down to Pittsburgh land. Matt, what do you think about that?
I don't like him one bit, but...
You like to win, Matt?
Yeah.
I don't like him, but winning does sound pretty darn good.
England ended up with the Steelers. Are you kidding me?
No, you didn't know this. Come on.
I didn't know this. I thought you were going to bring up Cam Newton.
I read about my teams every day. Every day.
Oh, man.
I think this is one of those things. I just happened to turn on sports TV or I was on Twitter.
I saw
this pop up and I was like,
oh,
hello.
Well, I hope he cuts his hair.
He's doing it for a Halloween costume. You don't follow any sports, do you?
Oh, I remember that.
Your hair's long, too.
I mean, I know. I need to get a cut. I'm too busy.
Not like Aaron Rodgers. That thing's going down. I don't know what he's going for, Michael Myers.
He looks different. He just looks weird with it.
He does.
All right, Mike, how about you talk a little bit about your team? They finally picked up, I think, a really good win, a solid win, right?
Yeah.
They beat the Carolina Panthers, a team that came in undefeated. Prescott had 4 touchdowns, 188 yards. Zeke on the ground, 143. That's what you wanted, right?
Yep.
7.2 yards per carry, the touchdown. Pollard right behind him with 67. So an offense combining 210 rushing yards between their two backs in modern NFL. Perfect game, I think, for the Cowboys.
I think they found the rhythm with Zeke, and I think Pollard complements him.
There was an early big run Zeke had, and I texted you guys, hey, like, Zeke's putting on some big runs here. So I like that from him. But the only thing that I didn't like, there was no Christian McCaffrey for Carolina, and they still gave up 28 points.
Yeah.
And I know there's still a defense that's still a work in progress. They've looked a lot better than last year. They can't get any worse than that. But without, Chuba Hubbard. I mean, look what he's doing. 13
carries, 57 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. You take that part.
Yeah, not too bad.
No, I mean that's good. I mean, you say you give him another 7 yards, he's putting up another 28 rushing yards. That's in the 80, 85 range. So I mean that's what you take out of a rookie running back like him, who's been sitting behind a great running back in Christian McCaffrey, and is now having to get all of those snaps from it that he would normally get and do something completely different. And they're working with a different quarterback. This is a change-up for Carolina, right? They're still finding themselves, finding what they need, and I think the loss of McCaffrey prior to this game really affected what that offense was going to be doing here. Because this was a big game for them. They're going up against a rough defense, one that just cut a Pro Bowling linebacker, and who did he just sign? Packers, yeah. Signed with Green Bay. So, I mean, I think both sides needed a big game. I think both sides got a big game. I mean, Sam Darnold, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So you see Dallas' defense doing good, but you also see him getting 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground, and you're seeing just how much more dynamic this Carolina offense is, and I think that's a credit to the Cowboys' defense, despite the fact that this was a completely different Carolina offense than they've seen all season. We're still able to capitalize and win the football game in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to completely, like I said, 28 points without McCaffrey. I wish it was a little bit lower, but how about Trayvon Diggs, Matt?
He's awesome. He's awesome. But a little bit here about Carolina. 1 second, I just got to find it. But they had to pretty much reroute their offense because
they lost their best player on offense.
No more Christian McCaffrey. Here it is. But the duo I like right now, Sam Darnold with Robbie Anderson, man. 5 catches. I mean, you got to keep going to him, and they already have that chemistry because they played on the Jets together. Yeah. So I like that. I like that duo right there, and also DJ Moore, who put up the most receiving yards in that game. So they just had to reshift it, and they almost won.
Well, on the side there of DJ Moore, you say that. In the last, I believe it is 3 years, DJ Moore is 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. Yeah. He is quietly working with terrible quarterbacks. One of the best wide receivers the NFL has right now, and some could argue the best, considering the fact that the guys he's worked with, but you got Teddy Bridgewater, P.J. Walker.
Which I like.
Gosh, who else have they been working with down there? I mean, they've had a lot of in and out. I mean, a down Cam Newton.
Will Greer.
Will Greer was down there. I mean, they were working with so many different guys, and he has still produced for this team time and time again. And DJ Moore, I don't even think it's quietly one of the best. I think he just is one of the best wide receivers. And if Carolina doesn't hang on to this guy come free agency whenever his contract is up, it is a huge loss for this team and a major pickup for wherever else he could end up.
Matt, do you think every free agent is going to Pittsburgh?
I mean, we need all the
worse than New York Knicks fans.
Right? No, there's just Pittsburgh players that are like this.
Oh, come on. Every time there's a free agent available, you're like, Steelers need him. Steelers should pick him up.
Oh, well,
you're the Knicks fan of the NFL.
We need help.
Matt, but you wanted Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith wouldn't make sense for them.
No, he wouldn't.
They have linebackers.
They have too many linebackers.
Pittsburgh sports writers do this too, especially with the Steelers. And I
mean, Stephon Gilmore would have made sense because Hayden's just garbage.
They need offensive help more than anything. So.
Yeah. Stop worrying about defensive guys. Get DJ Moore.
What? I just said that. You just insulted me.
Well, yeah, because I'm not the one that says it every week.
Yeah, sure.
All right, next game up here. Cardinals are on a roll, man. Murray, 268, 2 touchdowns. Chase Edmonds, 120 yards on the ground. James Conner, 50 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Green, 67 yards. Hopkins, 67 yards. Williams, 66 yards. Rondale Moore, 28 yards. I mean, this was a team that's just... they're so explosive. And I think the Rams on their side, they put up a great game. It's not like they did poor in this game.
No.
Just the Cardinals are that much better.
I think that a lot of the hype was going to the Rams in the preseason. They got Matthew Stafford, good quarterback, and the Cardinals are just coming in and stealing all this hype.
Wait, I heard you say when he was talking about the Cardinals, you said they're a sleeper team. Are they a sleeper team? Because they were good last year. They missed the playoffs, but
did they make the playoffs?
They missed it, but they were good last year.
They were good at first, and they kind of faltered a little bit. But yeah, I think so. I think they were a sleeper team. Now they're becoming a contender.
I don't think there was any sleepiness coming into this season with the offseason they had with picking up everybody. No. I mean, all the hype was on this defense though, with picking up J.J. Watt and they had Jordan Hicks back there anyway. Buda Baker, Isaiah Simmons in the draft,
and they already have Chandler
Jones in that game, who didn't get any stats in that, but
still he's a force. And drafting this guy,
Moore too.
Drafting him, that's amazing.
He's been a good weapon for them. He fits that offense well.
He works well in what was it? The slot.
Yeah.
He's like the Steelers' James Washington, but better. In a way. But
I was going to say more Carolina when they were working with Curtis Samuel.
There you go. That works better.
All right. Speaking of this Rams team, that we look ahead till tonight's game, 8:20 Thursday night football in Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And Seahawks coming off finally picking up that win against the 49ers after losing back-to-backs against the Vikings and the Titans. They won week one against the Colts. Now, I mean, I think they're still finding themselves. I think this is a game where both teams need the win, right?
Seattle has to come out and steal this win. They have to come out and take it because the Rams aren't going to go very gently in the sunset.
Seahawks have to come. Stafford is a beast, and he's going to find his guys. Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson. I mean, Van Jefferson just led this team in receiving yards this last week, and this is a dangerous squad they're working with. Darrell Henderson on the ground had 89 yards. Sonny Michel, if they can work him in a little bit more, is a Super Bowl running back.
How about this Van Jefferson? Have you even heard of this guy before this season? Yeah. Van Jefferson. Has he been with the Rams? I have.
Look at the stats.
He's putting up numbers.
Van Jefferson.
While you're searching here, Cooper Kupp.
He's been a weapon for them for a long time.
Absolutely. If he's, I won't go.
He was with him last season. That was his.
He's got to be the best. What's that?
This is his second year with the Rams.
Okay, that's why. But Cooper Kupp's got to be like the best wide receiver coming out of the FCS. He played for Eastern Washington. He's got to be one of the best ones coming out.
He solidified himself as an NFL star talent, and he's got a long future ahead in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right, so who needs this game more? I would say the Seahawks need it more.
Seahawks definitely need this game more.
They do.
They've been struggling on offense. We haven't, seen them have any sort of rhythm or consistency, and this is one of those games that they have to come into and really show that they know how to play football.
Absolutely.
They're 2-2 right now. I think it's better they start bad and finish hot than they start hot and finish bad, like we've seen in the past. Because Russell Wilson, what do we talk about every year? First half MVP, second half scrub.
And I think he needs to bury all of that right now. And this is a game to do it right here. Yeah. This is a game. You got to find DK. You got to find what's his name? You got to find Lockett. You got to find Lockett. I don't know Chris Carson. He was hurt or something.
I think he's questionable for the game.
He's questionable for the game. But if not, you got those other guys. I like.
With Gerald Everett, tight end.
Yeah, I like Gerald Everett. They're running back, so they have that. His last name's Homer. Homer.
Yeah.
He has shown some speed before, and I think they can. He's a small guy, but if they can create the holes with him, he can sneak in and out and just take off. I don't know if you've seen this guy play. He's got speed.
Speed kills in the NFL. It also wins football games.
Homer's going to bring it home.
Before we make predictions here this week and getting on with this show, how about we give a quick rundown of our predictions from last week, how those ended up.
Yeah.
So Mike and I tied for the most correct predictions in total. For the NFL, though, Mike took it. He had 12 right, 3 wrong. Matt and I both had 10 right and 5 wrong. College football's where Matt took the underdogs and didn't do too well.
No.
Mike, you were close with him a few times. I think you went opposite of him in some of the games he got right.
I was over 500.
I was close with the scores a little bit, you were saying.
Yeah,
right?
Matt was close with the scores. Some of his weren't bad.
The right way.
I was impressed. He just had him going the wrong way. But college football, Matt went 4-5. He went 5-4. I went 7-2. I'll take that with the Boston College being the one I was just throwing balls to the wall.
I won that bet, by the way.
They almost did.
I won that. I told you guys.
What's that? What?
They got the 16 points and they were good.
Yeah.
You said Clemson no cover. They didn't
They
cover.
could have won the game, though. Man, they fumbled.
I don't care about that. I wanted to win.
I cared. I made a bet and lost it.
And, I think I was clearly wrong with Arkansas winning that football game, but you know what? I think it went a complete other way. I don't think I really could have predicted that one. Obviously, you guys got the UGA game right, but I mean, I felt pretty good. But both Mike and I finished 17-7 this past week. Matt, you went 14-10. So with that being said, let's make some predictions for tonight. Get this week started off a little bit differently. Last week, I made the mistake going against Seattle in that 49ers game, and
yeah, you did.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
So why don't you guys give a little bit of rundown here?
Go ahead.
So
Mike.
I want to go with Seattle because they're at home. I said they need it more. It's pretty obvious they need it more.
And they're going to play.
But I think the Rams are a good enough team where they lost and they're going to bounce back. On the road, it's going to be a big win for them in the division.
Last week we were saying we couldn't really trust Seattle too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm gaining a little bit more trust. That was a big one with the Niners, just a little bit.
Is it a big? I guess.
They needed to win it.
They did. I mean, they couldn't avoid the 1-3 start like the Steelers.
And I think they took out all their energy. Every week you get the break, but they put everything they had in that Niners game. I don't know if they can come out and put everything into this Rams offense that's elite, and then even their defense is pretty good. Jalen Ramsey is getting a little older. That guy can still play lights out at cornerback.
Oh, one of the best in the league.
And then you have Aaron Donald on that team too. But I think Seattle finds a way somehow. I think they sneak it with a field goal.
I mean, are they going to be able to keep Aaron Donald away from Russell Wilson? Are they going to be able to...
it doesn't matter if you double team this guy. He's going to come around. He's going to get you. I think this is where Russell needs to get out of the pocket and look downfield. If not, take off.
So, you say Seattle by a field goal. What about you, Mike?
I'm going Rams by 10.
We're going to keep track.
I'll go Rams by a touchdown. Don't worry about it, man. I got that. I go down all afterwards. So, tonight, 8:20, Rams, Seahawks. 2 pick the Rams. 1 sticks loyal to his squad. So, let's talk a little bit college football. We'll make some predictions. Nothing too major. But, number one here, the Bearcats. Entering conference play, starting off with the Temple Owls. And a squad that they've struggled against. You look back here, the Owls have won 4 of the last 5 meetings between them and the Bearcats. Temple has a convincing 17-8-1 lead in the all-time series. The game last November was canceled due to COVID. 2019, though, was Cincinnati's big win over this squad finally, but they won it just 15-13 at home, in that game. So this is by no stretch of the imagination a game that Cincinnati is looking ahead of. This is a team they've struggled against, a team that the matchup has always been on the Owls' side. But this is what we've been talking about, right? Avoiding messing up once you get in conference play. They have had a fantastic performance out of conference. Now they're coming in to start this conference play. They've already used up one of their bye weeks. And you look at the other side with Temple. There's a team that lost to Rutgers, beat Akron, lost to Boston College, beat Wagner, then beat Memphis last week. So it's a team that has a little bit of momentum growing right now. And they're a 3-2 squad. It's a tough, gritty unit. And Cincinnati, they're coming off the big win. You hope they can continue riding that high and working in this game and not get caught up in that Notre Dame win, right? Don't get caught up in your last one so much that you forget about what you got to do this week. And I have a feeling Fickell's going to prepare them right. He's been doing it all season long, and over the last 4 years with Cincinnati, he has prepared them for games like this and not letting that moment get too big. And obviously they performed when it came time to perform against Notre Dame in a big crowd. Now they're back here at home. The energy here in Cincinnati is going to be immaculate after the big win against Notre Dame. You just hope the players continue to perform the way they did in that Notre Dame game and in that Indiana game. They need to get back to form here, stay consistent. And Desmond Ridder, time to put in another Heisman performance.
That's where I was going to go, Alex. Can you look at this game as a potential trap?
No.
I don't think this becomes a trap game because of the past between these two schools.
Right.
This has been a neck-and-neck game, and I think Cincinnati comes into this game knowing, hey, this is a team we beat by 2 points lucky in 2019. We didn't play them last season. We don't know what they have right now. What we know is they're 3-2. This is not a losing team. This is a team that has back-to-back wins, one against an FCS opponent, but one against Memphis. They had to put in a tough battle. It was a 35-31 game. This is not some scrub team like you faced against Miami of Ohio or Murray State. This is a team that is going to challenge us like Indiana did. You know, they have multiple weapons. They can spread the field. They're going to have a strong defense. Not to what we saw of Notre Dame, but it's going to challenge us in ways we probably haven't been challenged this season. Because this isn't out-of-conference play. This isn't, Big Ten style of football. This isn't, the Notre Dame ACC-esque style of football that they play. This is American Conference football. It's different. It's scrappy. It's gritty. There's something about it that you watch it, and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. You're just like, that was something.
Temple.
And it's Temple, and they like to travel as well. We'll see how well they can bring the crowd here tonight. I don't think it's too far of a drive from Temple University. I could be wrong on that, though. But, I think this is an interesting matchup for Cincinnati. It's one they need to win, and it's a Friday night game at 7 p.m., too, so that could also catch them a little bit off guard, coming off a shorter week again after the Notre Dame game.
That's where I was going to go. You can argue that it is trapped or argue that it isn't, because shorter week, like you said, they're coming off 2 high games like against Indiana and Notre Dame, so you got to see how they respond going into conference play, but like you said, they know what they have to do against Temple, because Temple is a team that has, like you said, the last time they played, it was a close game, and even Memphis, they just had a good game against Memphis. So they know. I think they know what they have to do, but it's just we talk about this in college football. You have to just focus on each week. Focus on this one. Ignore what you had in the last couple weeks. Ignore what Temple did in the last couple weeks. Just focus on winning that game.
I mean, it's so true what you're saying there. I mean, you can't look ahead, you can't look back. You look now.
And don't focus on what the team that you're playing did the previous few weeks. Focus on just that week beating them.
It's not too far a drive at all. Temple's coming from
Philly.
Philly, yeah, they're coming from Philly to Cincy. So
that's what I thought. I didn't think it was too bad. So let's make some predictions here. Cincinnati versus Temple. It's been a close matchup in recent years, so we'll see. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm going to go Cincinnati because, like you said, I think Fickle's going to have them prepared. Yeah. They know what they need to do. They know this is a team that normally they play good against, and it's starting conference play. They need to start out things good, so I'm going Cincinnati in that one.
What's your score?
30 to 16.
30 to 16 for Mike.
I got.
All right, Matt. Cincinnati Temple.
I got Cincinnati 35 to 7.
You got Cincinnati 35 to 7.
Yeah.
There's a pretty popular cheer there for Temple University. It's a T for Temple. U University. My roommate's parents went there, so I had to give him the shot there. But this game's not going to be close. Bearcats are going to take this thing. It might be a close first half, and it might look bad for Cincinnati, or they're going to pull out the win here. I go 27-10 here for the Bearcats. And next game up here for us, I think a big one for the Pac-12. 2-2 Utah, 3-2 USC. A lot of mixed matchups here this weekend. We'll get to the big ones on tomorrow's show right before they all go down to happen. But Pac-12, this is a shuffling out game right now for the Pac-12 South. You look at Utah; they're 1-0 right now in the Pac-12, currently second. USC's right behind them at 2-2 in conference play, and they've played basically all conference games so far this season. So this is a USC chance right now to build upon that resume, and they really need to get some in-conference wins. I mean, they sit at 500, and they're going to play a lot more. I mean, out-of-conference games, Notre Dame and BYU. That's what they got coming up. So they need to win now is what we're saying.
Right. For them to even have an opportunity, they need to win now.
Any thoughts on this game, Matt?
It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to go Utah, maybe.
This is a game that probably should go USC. Look at their last game against Colorado, right? Kadon Slovis, he's a great quarterback. He's put up some great numbers, and since they fired their past head coach in Clay Helton, this is a team that has turned around and has looked completely different. The offense can score. The defense makes stops. You look at those first 3 quarters from this last game, 10 points in each of them, and they held Colorado scoreless in the first and fourth quarters. I like what I'm seeing right now in Keontae Ingram, 124 yards in that game on the ground. I think USC is coming into this game with a lot of dangerous weapons. The question is, can they put it together? And Utah, coming off an overtime loss last week and a loss week prior to BYU, but this is a team looking for some redemption here, and they just won last week, against Washington State 24-13 before those 2 losses. They finally get the bounce-back win. And Garantano, the quarterback, he wasn't spectacular. The Rising, that last game wasn't spectacular. 13-23, 137 yards. It was TJ Pledger on the ground that held this squad together and got them that win. It was a gutsy performance, but it's a game Utah probably should have won by a lot more. That's why I got the Trojans going big in this one. I got Trojans by 14. I'll go 35-21 USC.
I think USC. I think USC will win, but I'd really like to see USC come back into form, back when they had Sam Darnold.
I mean, they have a chance
even
to
Juju,
go.
Even Juju.
I mean, this is a chance to go 8-4.
Yeah.
On the season potentially here. So I mean,
Maybe
plenty of time to turn the season around. What's your score?
I gotta go USC 2 touchdowns. We'll go
I also went 2 touchdowns. Interesting.
I don't know.
I'm going SC 28-20.
I like that. 28-20.
I got 28-14.
28-20. All right. I mean, a lot of close games. I think we know about what the offense for USC is going to give us here. So I guess we'll find out if that ends up being correct or not. So what would you say, Mike? 28-20? Yeah. All right, here. Next game up. LSU, the Wildcats at Kentucky in Kentucky. Chance for the Wildcats to go 6-0. A big game for them. LSU's been bouncing around. They're nothing special. They're nothing bad. I mean, it was a gutsy performance against Auburn. They lost by 5. They beat Mississippi State, who just picked up the win over A&M. Then, they win by 28 against Central Michigan. They win their game against McNeese State. Then you go back to the start of the season, they lose to UCLA and the Bruins by 11. And this is a team that hasn't found itself yet, and they need to because they have Kentucky, Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas up next in a row.
I believe that they will pull out a couple wins against you.
And only 2 of those are on the road. Are at home. So
Florida would be tricky. I think they might.
I think it's a team that they could pull off the win against Florida and really mess that season up even more.
That'd be horrible. But
what about this game here? Is there a chance they mess up the Wildcats?
I hope it's not. I hope it's not a mess up, and I hope it's not a trap game because Kentucky's found something.
They have.
I don't like LSU's offense at all. Really, I mean they don't really put up a lot of points. We making predictions right now, or
yeah,
let's go ahead, Matt. You already said Kentucky.
I say Kentucky by 10 points. We'll go 30-20. I like that.
A lot of points for that offense there, Matt. That's a bold decision. Bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Will Levis, baby.
Mike?
I'm going...
Former Penn State quarterback.
Will Lev.
28-16.
28-16 to UK?
Yep.
I was pretty spot on last week with my college football predictions, and I think we're getting to that point where we're getting a lot more games that probably aren't going to go the way we think, right? This is a big trap game for Kentucky because, they're riding that high. They're 5-0. They've had a good season so far, but now here's their chance to really prove themselves in the SEC. A tough matchup. It's still LSU at the end of the day. It's luckily for them at home. There's a big chance for Will Levis to, finally get a big game. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if he can do that. We haven't seen it from this Kentucky offense, and Will Levis being that guy at quarterback that can run an undefeated season, right? This hasn't been fantastic, and I think in this game you look for LSU to flip the script on him, to completely flip this around and start making this game something that Kentucky hasn't prepared for. I mean, they were gutsy in that game against Auburn. Max Johnson had 325 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. I think the question for LSU is, can they run the football, and who's going to be that guy to run the football? And Kentucky, I think they know who they are. They're not big scoring teams. I mean, 35 against Mizzou, 45 against Monroe. But other than that, Chattanooga, they only put up 28, 16 against SC, then 20 against Florida last week in a gutsy performance. They won that game narrowly, and I think it was a good game for Kentucky to win. But you look here at this LSU game, and I think there's a lot of question marks for Kentucky. And they're 5-0. They've done great so far. But in this game, I think I've got to ring my bell. I have LSU taking this game close. It's ugly. I go 20-18 LSU.
I can see that happening.
I like LSU. Go Joe.
I just don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with their offense.
I don't think either squad has a comfortable offense, and either side you can really be confident that they're going to put up 30 points. I mean, they can. We know that if they can put it together and run that football consistently. Kentucky is a team that can score a lot of points and can get this game done, and they can win this thing by halftime. It's just, can they do it consistently? I mean, Will Levis only threw it 17 times that last game. I mean, they only ran it for a total of 29 times. It wasn't a lot of offense, right? And this was a slow, methodical game. And I feel like if you get LSU in a slow, methodical environment, it might be something that the Tigers can take advantage of, flip on you, and start speeding this thing up and make it uncomfortable for Kentucky. That's why I'm taking the upset here.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see here. Next game up here, Virginia Cavaliers at Louisville. Kind of the same thing with that Utah-USC game. It's not looking at the big picture, but this is looking at something right now into the ACC. Two teams right in the middle of the road in the Atlantic. Louisville's at 4, and the ACC, Virginia's at 4. Virginia 1-2 in conference play. Louisville in 1-1 in conference play. Both teams needing a win here this week, and I'm expecting to see Louisville do something better, especially coming after that close game against Wake Forest. I mean, they lost that thing narrowly. Malik Cunningham has been fantastic with this offense. The only thing you didn't see from him was the big rush ability against Wake Forest. And if he had found the rushing game there on his own, this is a game they probably win. And I love this team right now and what they're doing and how they're working. I mean, they're not a team that's going to win a college football playoff or go to a New Year's Six game, but they're a team that's going to be gutsy, and I think it's going to pull off some big upsets like the year they did against Wake Forest.
Yeah. You know, Virginia hasn't been playing too bad either, but like you said, I like the Cardinal offense. I think they're pretty explosive, and they do put up some points, but they're kind of inconsistent. But if we're making predictions right now,
well, go ahead, right into it.
I'm going Cardinals.
Taking the Ville.
I'm trying to get away from. I feel like I'm putting a ball on a 28-point game, so I want to get away from that.
You've had 2 28s.
I'm going to go 31 to 21.
31-21. I think that's a good prediction. I mean, Virginia, I think they've been just as inconsistent, though. And
yeah.
On my side, I definitely have the Ville taking this one as well. I think this is a big game for Louisville. I think this is when they come out and show that offensive firepower that I think they have. I think they take this one 38-24 against Virginia.
I gotta go similar to that. I gotta go like 35-28.
Man, you and Mike have been going the same. I'm the only one that's deferred from this pass so far. Granted, a lot of games that probably should go one way. But how about this one? A huge bounce-back game for Notre Dame, 4-1 in Virginia Tech, a team that's 3-1 on the season.
They've been ranked.
Saturday, it's a night game in Blacksburg. And huge moment. And that's why you look at this for Virginia Tech. You know, a team that's second place in the ACC Coastal. They are threatening. They are 3-1, undefeated at home this season. 3-0. Their one road game, they lose it against West Virginia. I mean, you look at home, it hasn't been that impressive. They beat UNC, Middle Tennessee, and Richmond. So it hasn't been anything impressive. But this is Notre Dame's trap. They come off the loss to Cincinnati. Can they respond? Can they find that rhythm they had before? What is this Notre Dame team now that they've lost? Are they that same dangerous squad hunting for a college football playoff? Or are they just another run-of-the-mill Notre Dame team?
It's hard with Notre Dame.
Ready. Might want to get it ready.
Heating up the bell.
I don't personally have a bell, but if I have one, I'm bringing one here.
Mike, that was a big loss.
I'm going VT 20.
I think they pull it out.
27-23.
It's
a close game.
Well, Notre Dame's normally in close games.
Yeah, I mean they don't.
They normally sometimes shoot themselves in the foot, and I think they're going to do that in this game on the road.
I like Notre Dame, but
I don't know.
that loss put them down.
You did. I mean, 24-13, the offense didn't do much, and the sauce on defense for Cincinnati was just unstoppable. I mean, one of the best corners in college football locked down that defense. Locked down that defensive side of things for Cincinnati.
Virginia Tech.
And I think there's a lot of question marks when it comes to the offense now of Notre Dame.
I think Virginia Tech had that one kind of bad loss to West Virginia, and they bounced back from that. I think they climbed back into the polls with a win against Notre Dame by a field goal, 26-23.
Both won 23.
Yeah, I like this game a lot, and obviously they're the reasons I picked to talk about it on this show. was Notre Dame's bounce back. Could they get it done here? And I think that's the big question mark for them. Can they get it done? I think this is ugly football. I mean, Virginia Tech hasn't looked good so far. No. Notre Dame's big game. They don't look too hot. I think this is an ugly game, but I have Notre Dame winning it 20-14. I don't think it's high scoring. I think it's ugly. Yeah, I mean, you guys got the chance to, if you get all these right, I'm out here in the cold this week here on the predictions. But
I like Notre Dame, but
I don't.
Well, let's quickly go through. Let's quickly get through this game here. Michigan State undefeated in New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers obviously losing at home last week to Ohio State.
By a lot.
And they've lost to Michigan the week before. I think this was a game, though, you come out and look at Michigan State. You need to go put up a performance in between Michigan and Ohio State.
They're tricky.
This is a Rutgers team who can put up big points. And, I mean, not big points, but can put up big yards and make a team stressful down the stretch, The 2013 game against Michigan, they get blown out by Ohio State. Michigan State, I think, is right there on the edge of Ohio State and Michigan in terms of the conversations of those three teams of who's the best out of them. Some polls will have Michigan over Ohio State over Michigan, but Michigan State always sitting right there at the third team. I think this is Michigan State chance to prove we're better than Michigan. I don't know if they're better than Ohio State, though, in terms of their performance. They need a big rushing game in this one from Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker needs to have another big game this season. He's been fantastic, and this game solely relies on his performance on the ground. That's why I don't think it goes as high scoring as the Ohio State game, but I go 35-20 to Michigan State.
I like that score.
Go ahead, man.
Alec.
Yeah, it's good. Give me your score.
There you go. No, I was just...
I know, give me your score.
I gotta go... Michigan State. Yeah, you got that right. I say they take it away. 35-17.
35. I like that score. I mean, it's very similar to mine there, as I just wrote it down. 35-147 for Rutgers. Let's go.
I'm going
touchdown.
I'm going Sparty 29-17.
I think that's a good pick there, and I think the big question mark in this game is Rutgers' offense and how they perform in it, and if they show up like they did in that Michigan game and keeping that one close. Or if they completely fall apart like they did against Ohio State. And I think it's a big moment right now for Greg Schiano. A great teaching moment coming off the back-to-back losses. A close game and then a not-so-close game. I think there's a big chance for Rutgers to show that they are a better team than they have been in the past. You see them enter conference play, whether they're 3-1 or undefeated, and they just get steamrolled the rest of the way, and they finish with 4 wins. And they don't win in the Big Ten. I don't think this is a game they win, but I definitely think this is a proving ground for what Greg Schiano's trying to build here, which is why I don't want to see this as a big blowout, but this is also a game Michigan State needs to win handedly.
I think this is a game where Rutgers, like I said, I think it's just too much for them to pull off to win this game, but I think this is the game where people start looking at them as a potential landing spot for, 5-star recruits.
This is on the East Coast. It's in Jersey. If the Big Ten can start stealing, recruits out of a place like New York with a team like Rutgers here, I think that's a big step for the Big Ten in terms of recruiting in other places of the country. Obviously, Texas, California, and Florida, and Ohio, and Michigan are all locked down basically, as well as Pennsylvania with Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, not too many recruits get out of those areas unless they're going to Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, they go to the blue blood schools. But New York has a lot of great football there, too, and they produce a lot of recruits. It's a very big city, and New Jersey's right there. They're also locked in with Maryland. If those two schools can turn it around and create a big slew of recruiting for the Big Ten, it's going to be fantastic for this conference, and it's going to create two very good teams in Maryland and Rutgers.
Recruit in-state. We always talk about that. Start in-state and move out.
When they bring in Taulia. I mean, I thought that was big. They got the transfer from Tagovailoa, after his brother put up great numbers, and he's put up some pretty good numbers as well, and you hope Taulia with Maryland can continue to perform.
They gotta get him some weapons.
They do. We'll see if they can do it. Let's move on here. MLB Playoffs. It took till the 9th inning, the very last batter, to close this ball game out. A walk-off for the Dodgers to win it 3-1 in the bottom of the 9th inning against the St. Louis Cardinals. And what a game was. I mean, this was intense the whole way down, and it took out a gutsy performance from both sides to stay close and then to close this thing out. I mean, Cardinals open it up first inning. It's 1-0. You're like, uh-oh. Cardinals can take it here. I mean, you see the pitching then go 3 shutout innings. Then here in the 4th inning, you got the Dodgers get 1 on the board. And then it's quiet again until the bottom of the 9th inning. I mean, this was such a quiet game. I mean, you could tell Dodger Stadium was ready to erupt at any moment. And they finally got that chance in the end. And I think Dodger Stadium was the turning point in this game. If this is a game in St. Louis, I think it goes the other way.
I think it does.
Well, you can, going back to the game before this, Yankees and Red Sox, we were texting about this game saying this is a good game. So it was 1-0 the whole game, 1-1 the whole game. I mean, Yankees, Red Sox, you pretty much knew from the first couple innings Red Sox were going to win. And with the Dodgers, I talked about it yesterday, their depth is insane. They lose Max Muncy and they start Matt Beatty at first base. Then Chris Taylor didn't even start the game. He comes in and hits a home run to win the game.
The whole thing with Trevor Bauer, too. Like, they don't even need Trevor
They have
Bauer.
insane depth. And we talked about the pitching matchup, too, with Wainwright and Scherzer. Those guys were out in the 5th and 6th innings. It came a quick battle with the bullpen, and we see that every year, earlier in the playoffs.
That inning, I forget what inning it was, one of the early innings, like maybe 2 or 3, Wainwright had bases loaded, 1 out, and he just, ended up hitting them. I forget who it was. It might have been Chris Taylor hitting to a double play. He broke the bat. I'm like, wow, he got out of it just
Yeah,
like
and
that.
you even saw earlier in the game Cardinals could have been better in this game too because they had shortstop issues with Sosa at shortstop. I mean, he dropped the ball that was right at him. He fielded a ball that could have turned 2 and he only got 1.
He almost made a leaping catch.
Yeah,
I think that was him. He just missed it.
And this was a game, just as we were saying, was so close, and I'm sitting there in my head watching this game last night, just commentating it, and just getting the practice in for it, and I'm just sitting there, and I just had to stop myself and went, I'm caught up in the moment here. I got to just watch this game. This is great baseball. This is the playoff baseball people want to see, right? I mean, obviously, I think some people want to see more runs, but I think when you get the mixture of the runs and then the intensity in the 9th inning, you want that walk-off moment in the playoffs.
Alec, this is why I tell you guys all the time that I think this is the best playoffs because that was the reason why I say it last night. 1-0 half the game, 1-1 most of the game, and then you have walk-off. Like you said, you feel the intensity last night, especially in Dodger Stadium. You said it was electric. And you feel the intensity every pitch in baseball.
With that long season, 162 games.
You get exhausted and you get down to the end and you go, one more pitch. Just one more pitch is all it takes. Yeah. And you get there and you go, if this is being played somewhere else, this pitch might go the other way. This is a pitch that in a different stadium might go over the fence differently. It could be a shorter fence, a longer fence. It's where you then get the advantage of home field advantage. You have your crowd. And especially once we get down into the World Series, when different sides of the country, you don't get as much travel as you do in some of the other leagues, where especially NFL or college football, where it's played in one location, or even college basketball, where it's just in one spot. It's designed to be there. Instead, you get this nonstop intensity where you never know what the next pitch is going to come at. You never know. What that hit's going to do. Then it's outdoors. So now you got to rely, what's the wind going to do? We're going to get some crazy wind gust just out of nowhere that's just, this ball's going up, it looks like it's heading over, and the wind just kills it in the midair, or, it's just one that it's just going to, it looks like something that should be an easy pop fly, and then it just gets taken the other direction. Wind, rain, temperature dropping at the end of the game. As earthquake. You did a kicking it back with Matt a couple, year and a half, year ago.
The Bay Series with the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants, Candlestick Park.
Yeah, and the massive earthquake. And
it was a 6.1.
It was something
It was
strong.
big.
It was enough to knock down the city for a while there, but I mean, anything can happen in baseball. And as Mike was saying, it's one of you think it's the most intense and best playoff series. I think a few of the other ones would like to give you a run for your money because I think for your money. But I think this is great for baseball. And how about here, just for last 4 minutes, let's go ahead and give our predictions. They've been out on Twitter all week, so everybody can go check them out. Matt's the only one with the correct bracket so far. He picked both the Dodgers and Boston to move on.
I got both. Well, I picked the Dodgers. I'm 1-1.
Yeah, you picked, me and you both picked New York in the ALWS.
But this next series, who did I pick? I picked...
You're in the bottom there, Matt.
Oh, I see it. I picked the Dodgers. I did pick the Dodgers. This is a very no, actually I picked San Francisco, but like you said, home field advantage and stuff like that. I mean, San Fran and Dodgers, they go to both of each other's stadiums, same division,
Right.
and it's close, too. So this is going to be very comfortable World Series, or comfortable series here because
They both played a bunch
They
already.
both played.
Well,
a bunch.
they're definitely familiar, and I think with the Dodgers,
So,
okay, so,
it could go
we
either
saw
way.
last night. We saw last night with them. They're in close games. They have depth where close games favor them because they can go a lot of different routes to win close games. But with the last night the Cardinals could have got more runs, but they didn't capitalize.
No,
and I think if the Dodgers let that happen against the Giants can capitalize on those.
Yeah.
All right, let me take it from here. Let's start making predictions. ALDS matchups: Tampa Bay versus the Red Sox. I got Tampa taking it. What about you, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tampa. I got to take it.
Tampa, you got
Tampa
Tampa
Bay.
as
I got
well.
Tampa down here.
The other ALDS matchup: Chicago versus the Houston Asterix. What are your guys' picks?
Trash cans.
No way I'm taking Houston ever again. I don't care
Never.
if they are the favorites. I don't want them to win, so I'm not picking them. I'll be petty here. They disgraced the name of baseball. Same reason I didn't really want to take Boston. I mean, New York has had their own controversies, but I don't like what they've done to baseball. That's why I took New York in that game. I take Chicago here, same reason. What about you guys?
Well, I agree with you on
Listen,
that. I took Chicago because
I don't
they're
like-
better than them.
Yeah, I think they're also better too. Yeah.
Yeah, they are better. I mean, I don't like Chicago. I don't like Houston either. But Chicago, they have the power.
Yeah,
Tim
they do here.
Anderson-
NLDS now. We got 2 minutes to go here, so I'm wrapping it quickly. NLDS, San Fran, LA. I have the Giants. Obviously, there's a reason they finished first place. I gave it to the first place teams here. Without a doubt, that's what I got.
Giants.
Giants here. All right. Atlanta, Milwaukee, Brewers, Braves. Matt.
Braves,
Oh wait, well, mine I
baby.
had Dodgers.
Huh?
In mine I had Dodgers, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
I was looking at Matt's. Sorry, I had Dodgers.
All right,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Atlanta Braves.
All right, he's taking the Braves here. You and I both take Milwaukee. In the ALCS, Tampa Bay versus Chicago, I take the Bay. You know, I went safe picks in this one. Number one's all the way down. That's what I did here. What about you, Mike?
Tampa Bay. I got
Tampa
my shirt
Bay.
on.
You picked Tampa as well here. So we had 3 different championship matchups here, both with Tampa. I had San Francisco beating the Tampa Bay Rays. You had Milwaukee beating Tampa Bay. And you had Atlanta beating Tampa Bay. So we all pick Tampa Bay to get swept here. They got no chance. And unfortunately, we don't have much more time to go into it. We'll try and go into it a little bit tomorrow here to start the show. But that's going to do it for us here today. I'm Alec. That's Mike. We'll see you all next time.
That's mine.